Hi guys, happy Thursday. Do you guys still have any snow left outside? Ours was actually mostly gone by the end of the day yesterday. So while it looked like winter for a little bit, I think we're hopefully on our way back to spring. I heard that the weather is supposed to be warming up this weekend, so let's keep our fingers crossed for that. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead. I actually have 3 stories for you today, and I want to read a couple funny stories because sometimes I read funny stories and sometimes they're a little bit more serious, but I want to read some funny stories today. So, the first one is called 17 Things I'm Not Allowed to Do Anymore. Okay, so think about all the things mom and dad say you can't do. There's probably quite a few of them, right? Well, these are 17 things that this girl's not allowed to do anymore, and they're pretty funny. So, the first one. Now, this is kind of a big floppy book, so might take me a little bit. I had an idea to staple my brother's hair to his pillow. I'm not allowed to use the stapler anymore. Yeah, look at it's stuck to his head when he goes to talk to mom. I had an idea to glue my brother's bunny slippers to the floor. I'm not allowed to use the glue anymore. I had an idea to tell my brother he'd soon be eaten by hyenas. So she's looking at the lines on his hand, and there's this old kind of myth that you can tell your fortune by looking at your hand. And so she's looking at his hand, and it says, your lifeline, your headline, your happiness heart, eaten by hyenas. I am not allowed to tell my brother's fortune anymore. I had an idea to walk backward all the way to school. I am not allowed to walk backward to school anymore. Look at the faces of all the children in the crossing guard. Not the safest thing in the world. I had an idea to do my George Washington report on beavers instead. I am not allowed to do reports on beavers anymore. So she said, beavers crossing the Delaware River to all the beavers that ever lived. Beaver Bill. I had an idea to dedicate my report to all the beavers that ever lived. I'm not allowed to dedicate my report to beavers anymore. Her teachers say, see me after class. I had an idea to tell the class I personally owned 100 beavers. I am not allowed to say that I own beavers anymore. She seems like quite the character, huh? I had an idea to show Joey Whipple my underpants. I am not allowed to show Joey Whipple my underpants anymore. Like she did a cartwheel. I had an idea to set Joey Whipple's shoe on fire using sun and a magnifying glass. I am not allowed to set Joey Whipple on fire anymore. I had an idea to walk backward all the way home from school. I am not allowed to walk backward home from school anymore. I had an idea to freeze a dead fly in an ice cube tray. I am not allowed to make ice anymore. I had an idea to wash my hands in the dog's bowl before dinner. I am not allowed to wash my hands in the dog's bowl anymore. Yuck. I had an idea to give my brother the gift of cauliflower. I am not allowed to give the gift of cauliflower anymore. I had an idea to order a different dinner from my mother. I am not allowed to pretend my mother is a waitress anymore. Don't do that. Mom will not be happy. And mom is not a waitress. Well, maybe your mom is a waitress, but not for you at home. I had an idea to tell the sad story of a mother who fell into a volcano. I am not allowed to tell sad stories about volcanoes anymore. I had an idea to pretend I'd been struck deaf when I heard, go to your room. I am not allowed to pretend I've been struck deaf anymore. I had an idea that I might run away to live with kind and happy beavers. I'm not allowed to talk even a little bit about beavers anymore. the idea to say the opposite of what I mean to trick everyone. I'm sorry. I'm allowed to say the opposite of what I mean forevermore. Does she really look sorry? Probably not. Okay, so that's just kind of a fun little book about kind of a girl who's, we might say she's spirited. Okay, this next story, hold on. I need a little sip of tea. This next story I like, and I don't think we've read it in class before, but it's one of my favorites. Now, we read another story by this author. I don't know if you remember when we read the story called Fluffy the Porcupine, I believe. And this one is Tacky the Penguin. Now, you may have heard this story before, but this is really fun, and I love this story. So this one's by Helen Lester, and it's illustrated by Lynn Munsinger. Sorry. There once lived a penguin. His home was a nice icy land he shared with his companions. Yeah, this is a little bit, I'll move a little bit closer. His companions were named Goodly, Lovely, Angel, Neatly, and Perfect. His name was Tacky. Tacky was an odd bird. Every day, Goodly, Lovely, Angel, Neatly, and Perfect greeted each other quietly and politely. Tacky greeted him with a hearty slap on the back and a loud, "What's happening?" Goodly, Lovely, Angel, Neatly, and Perfect always marched 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Tacky always marched 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 6, 0, 2.5, 0. His companions were graceful divers. Tacky liked to do splashy cannonballs. How many of you like to do cannonballs? Goodly, Lovely, Angel, Neatly, and Perfect always sang pretty songs like Sunrise on the Iceberg. Tacky always sang songs like, "How many toes does a fish have?" Tacky was an odd bird. One day, the penguins heard the thump, thump, thump of feet in the distance. This could only mean one thing. Hunters had come. They came with maps and traps and rocks and locks, and they were rough and tough. As the thump, thump, thump drew closer, the penguins could hear growly voices chanting, "We're gonna catch some pretty penguins and we'll march them with a switch. We'll sell them for $1 and get rich, rich, rich." Goodly, Lovely, Angel, Neatly, and Perfect ran away in fright. They hid behind a block of ice. Tacky stood alone. The hunters marched right up to him, chanting, "We're gonna catch some pretty penguins and we'll march them with the switch. We'll sell them for $1 and get rich, rich, rich." Does Tacky look scared? "What's happening?" blared Tacky, giving one hunter an especially hearty slap on the back. They growled, "We're hunting for penguins, that's what's happening." "Penguins," said Tacky. "Do you mean those birds that march neatly in a row?" And he marched 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 6, 0, 2.5, 0. The hunters looked puzzled. "Do you mean those birds that dive so gracefully?" Tacky asked, and he did a splashy cannonball. The hunters looked wet. "Do you mean those birds that sing such pretty songs?" Tacky began to sing, and from behind the block of ice came the voices of his companions, all singing as loudly and dreadfully as they could. "How many toes does a fish have, and how many wings on a cow? I wonder, yup, I wonder." I know, I sound amazing, don't I? The hunters could not stand the horrible singing. This could not be the land of the pretty penguins. They ran away with their hands clasped tightly over their ears, leaving behind their maps and traps and rocks and locks, and not looking at all rough and tough. Goodly, lovely, angel, neatly, and perfect hugged Tacky. Tacky was an odd bird, but a very nice bird to have around. So that's Tacky the penguin. I love him. Okay, and I got one more story. Now, you are not allowed to compare me to the teacher in this story at all, because I would never do any of this. So, this one's called The Day the Teacher Went Bananas. I would never do that. You know me. I'm not crazy at all. Not even a little bit. Okay, this is by James Howe and illustrated by Lillian Hoban. No. One day, a new teacher arrived at our school. We didn't know what to call him because he wouldn't tell us his name. He just grunted a lot. I want you to take a look at that teacher. What do you notice? When it was time for arithmetic, that's what we call math, he showed us how to count on our toes. We learned a new way to write. We went outside for science class. So they're swinging on vines, they're pounding their chest, they're eating leaves. Then we went back inside for lunch. The teacher ate 16 bananas. Tomorrow, let's bring bananas for lunch, we all said, wanting to be just like our new teacher. Look at all those bananas he's eating. Must really like bananas. Then we had art class. Our teacher taught us how to work with clay and paper and paint. They're eating the clay, drawing on their faces with paint. Don't eat clay, by the way. Then we studied music. Suddenly, Mr. Hornsby, the school principal, came into the room with another man. There has been a terrible mix-up, Mr. Hornsby said. This isn't your new teacher. This is a gorilla. The man with Mr. Hornsby said, I am your new teacher. My name is Mr. Quackerbottom. I was sent to the zoo by mistake. Sadly, we all waved goodbye to the gorilla. Now, Mr. Quackerbottom, what have you learned today? We showed him. Why, this is awful, Mr. Quackerbottom cried. You all belong in a zoo. And the next day, that's exactly where we went. To have lunch with our favorite teacher. And that's the day the teacher went bananas. So, again, please don't compare me to a gorilla. Anyway, I hope you guys are having a great day. I hope some of you will be able to join us this afternoon at 2 o'clock for our class chat. We will go over one of the pages in our packet. We're going to go over one of the Friday pages, so you don't have to have your packet pages done when we meet, because we'll go over a page for Friday, kind of like we did on Tuesday. We went over a page for Wednesday. So until then, I love you guys, and I will see you soon.